Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing my September budget review. First, I have to apologize for the fact that I forgot to screenshot September's spending tracker, which is only shown on the dashboard. So unfortunately, there's no way to get that back. And because I'm filming this October 2nd, we're already in a new month, which is why everything here is empty. And we're just gonna have to go with it. But at least from here, you can see my overall spending last month, which always jumps up towards the end because that's when I pay my rent. Overall, I stayed pretty low and only paid for necessities, which we will see in just a moment. And this was the longest streak that I didn't spend anything. So from the 10th to the 15th, which is about 5 days, I did not spend any additional money. As always, we're going to start by heading to the accounts page and making sure that all of my accounts have the right balances. I just checked my bank accounts here and everything is pretty accurate except for my checking account. And that is because I had some transactions come out yesterday and today, and also one pending transaction. This probably won't update for another couple of days, but that is totally fine with me. So I'm going to leave that as is. My work 401k plan is on pause, but I am keeping the money in there so that it will continue to grow until I start contributing again. Moving on to my loan accounts, I have some good news. I was able to pay off this Affirm loan in September, so that one is completely done. And now I just have this final Affirm loan to go, so I'm pretty excited about that. The only thing I'm struggling with is my Nelnet. So this is where all of my remaining student loans are being held. And you can see here, I manually updated the balance because this is what the balance is when I actually log into Nelnet, which is $14,471.82. But for some reason, Monarch is not updating it correctly. So it's short about $30 or so, and I think I'm just gonna have to continue to manually update this, maybe like on a weekly basis, which is pretty annoying, but I don't think there's anything else that I can do about it right now unless I decide to turn it into a manual account. But for now, I'm going to leave this as is until I decide what to do. For WAME, I forgot that even though this is a business membership, I need to structure it like a debt, because once you pay off $2,000, you have a lifetime membership and you don't have to make any more payments. So previously it was just showing up on my monthly budget as a recurring business expense, but I needed to put it here so that I can see how much I have left to pay until I don't have to pay anymore. I've already added September's payment here, as well as the other payments that I've made so far. And now this will be a handy reminder because it's going to be nice to pay that off. And speaking of, I am making a payment today on this debt of $100. So I'm going to go ahead and update that now. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the last video, but Monarch has made the category window a lot bigger. And I love this because I can see the categories in a bigger view instead of like the little small drop down, which looks something like this. So maybe they'll update the merchants as well. Now that transaction has been added and my balance is $231.95. So almost there at the finish line. We can definitely do this by December. If we look at my net worth, at the end of August, I had negative $16,602.96. And by the end of September, I got it up to negative $14,516.86. So it went up by $2,000, which is absolutely amazing. And I'm gonna try to continue to get it up as much as I can before I move out and my expenses go a little bit higher. Now we're going to head to the recurring tab and go to last month and make sure everything came out. For Chewy, which is my pet insurance, they are dividing the payments into two separate ones instead of just one lump sum payment. So that's why it's showing this separately, but I know that it's the exact same thing, so I'm going to leave that as is. everything else that was super necessary came out the way it was supposed to, so I am all good to go here. Then we're going to review my transactions. I've been pretty on top of this every week, so I really only have these transactions to go through in terms of making sure that they are properly categorized. But just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and select, let's go to last month, and I'm going to start from the bottom, work my way up, and make sure everything is good to go. I just finished categorizing all of my transactions. Also, before I hopped on camera, I requested my reimbursements, which I completely forgot to do in September. So for this month of October, I'm probably going to end up receiving 2 payouts. All right, now we're heading to the meat and potatoes of my budget, which is the plan. Coda, I need you to move, please. My goodness. All right, I'm going to go back 1 month and make sure all of my categories are expanded, and let's start. I got my expected income after taxes and deductions, which was $3,255. I got $5 in interest from my checking and savings accounts, so that was awesome. And I also had $439 that I rolled over from August. For reimbursements, I got $20, which I said in my August video that I had to have a minimum balance of $20 before I could withdraw it. And after gifts, I had a total of $3,729 that I was working with for this month. Let's go to expenses. Rent was the same. Next month's bills is pretty much always the same, so I'm going to keep that as is. And then household, I normally would aim for $300, but I noticed in August that I spent about $400, and that is because my household includes both groceries and anything that I need around the house. It's just easier for me to group it into one category. So I budgeted $350, and I don't know why it says $354, but it was $350, but I ended up spending $358. So I'm just going to update that here. And now that's zeroed out. As for pet health, this includes my cat's pet insurance as well as any vet visits. And because he is only, 5 months old now, he's been going to the vet a lot over the past couple of months for checkups and for vaccines and anything else that he needed because he's so young. And I am happy to announce that September was the last month he needed to go in for a checkup until next year. So moving forward, my monthly pet insurance bill will just be $58 instead of the $200 plus on average that I've been spending over the past couple of months. So I'm really excited about that. For business expenses, I only spent $186, and I will talk about why this went down $100 shortly when we go down the page. So I'm just going to update this to $186. And then renter's insurance was expected, and transportation, I went over by $1, which is kind of crazy, but we're just gonna update it. There we go. Now we are pretty much zeroed out. Once again, Monarch still hasn't updated it to where we can have cents show up in the budget and actual. So sometimes, depending on how far up it rounds, it'll show like slightly different numbers here, but I'm not too worried about it. For personal expenses, the only one that actually came out in September was my Blink subscription and my Google One. So Blink is for my doorbell security camera that I have. And then I also have a Google One subscription, which is my storage because I have a lot of photos and files. And after years of trying to be efficient with my space, I finally ran out, and it's only $1.99. So that was my combined total. For personal care, this was actually my Curology subscription, which I was not expecting to pay this month, and that is because I forgot to change the shipping date for one of my boxes. So there's really nothing else I can do about it here because the money has already gone out and I already received the package. Going forward, I'm thinking about canceling my Curology subscription because I'm just not seeing the changes. When I do my October budget review, I'll be able to decide if this is something that I want to keep, but right now I'm not really sure. For restaurants, I only ordered food once, and that was for Chipotle. Yeah. And then for Fun Money. Now, this is where the $439 that I mentioned earlier comes in. I said at the end of August, as a reward for meeting my $1,000 emergency fund goal, that I was going to spend some money on myself and get some clothes and things that I needed. So of that $439, I only had to spend $264. But I do have more clothes that I actually feel good in now. So this was definitely a necessary purchase. And I'm happy that I was able to stay under budget because I did have some other unexpected things come up throughout the month. An example being this Curology subscription that I didn't plan for. And for gifts, I actually ordered something for my sister. So that went to her and everything is good there. So that was what I spent on wants. As for wealth, you can see that I spent $100 more. This goes into what I was saying earlier on the accounts page. So this WAME business subscription, now that I'm going to be considering this a debt, I decided to move it on my budget plan from where it was before, the business expenses, where this was $100 more. And now it is going to be in the debts section. So I'm going to update this to 200, and that will cover my future payments until I pay off both of those debts. My investments, this is just the Acorn subscription that I pay because, as I've explained before, I actually do transfer $5 each month into my Acorns, but because I consider that a transfer of assets, and so does Monarch, the only thing that goes here in this category is just the Acorn subscription itself, and that's just $1. As for loans, I'm going to skip over this and go down to the contributions section because I am going to change how I'm managing my debt payments in Monarch ever so slightly because the system that I've had has not been working. I explained in an earlier budget video that I was going to leave this placeholder for extra debt payments as a way to track the extra payments I was able to make towards my debt in that month. But it's been getting really confusing because of how Monarch is set up, and I feel like I've been overcomplicating it. So instead of having this section down here to track extra debt payments, I'm just going to merge it up here with my other debts and loans. And I feel like that would make a lot more sense, especially when I go into my forecast and I look at previous months, and if there is a spike in how much I actually spent, it would be easier to see that in the same line item instead of going down to a separate section and seeing the extra debt payment. So I hope that made sense. We are actually going to go into the extra debt payments goal, and I'm going to, we'll say delete, and then we're going to go back. Now that I have deleted that extra debt payments line item down here, you'll see that it automatically moved those payments up to my loans, which is exactly what I wanted. And I'm going to go into this and show you all. From here, you can see that my standard monthly payment for the Affirm 6 loan is $35.28, but I only had $92.23 remaining on the balance. And because I had the money in my bank account and I wanted to save on interest, I went ahead and paid off the loan so that I could just be done with it. And so that is that extra payment there. And after all of my payments, I spent a total of $190. So I'm gonna update that on the budget area. There we go. And now we're gonna scroll down here so I can explain what happened with my savings. So I did save $1,000 already to my moving fund, which, as you all know, I'm moving out in December. So my goal is to save $1,000 a month. Instead of waiting until the end of the month to make the savings transfer, I decided that the sooner I deposit it into my savings account, the higher the chance I have of earning interest because it's been in the account longer. So once I get my second and final paycheck of the month, which is on the 20th, I'm going to go ahead and transfer the $1,000 because I already know that I budgeted for it beforehand. So if we go here, you can see I actually did this on the 19th because I got paid early. I went ahead and transferred the $1,000. Because I did that, I was able to earn the extra interest that I did this month. I hope that makes sense. And for the emergency fund, this $92 that I mentioned up here for the loan payments, I went ahead and withdrew the $92 from that because it's not much, and I know that once I get paid in a few days, I can just add the remaining $17 to this account to bring it back up to $1,000. So this really wasn't a problem at all for me to withdraw the little bit that I needed in order to make that debt payment. After all is said and done, it's saying I have $177 left to budget. So I am going to double check my bank account really quick and make sure that everything is lining up, and I'll be right back. All right, so after crunching the numbers, I realized that my rollover amount was $10 off. So I changed it from $439 to $429. And now I know this is correct because if I take the $167 that I have remaining to budget plus the $110 that I always leave for next month's bills, it equals the $277 that I have in my account. So we are all good to go. Now that I have $167 left over after covering next month's bills and after my savings goals have been met, I am going to deduct the pending transactions that are in my bank account right now but have not shown up in Monarch yet to see how much I actually have to work with. So I'm going to take the $277.28 minus the $7.49 that I spent on Monarch Money, minus $5 that got transferred to my Acorns, minus $17.69 that I spent on Wendy's, and that leaves me with $247.10. And then we have to subtract the $111 that I set aside for October's bills, and that is going to be $136.10 remaining that I can actually do something with. So because moving out in December is my priority, I'm going to take 100 of that and put it towards the moving fund. That leaves me with $36.10. And then I'm going to pay the $17 to bring my emergency fund back up to $1,000. So that leaves us with $19.10. For the remaining $19, I am just going to leave that in my account because it's such a low amount, and just in case something comes up, I would rather have it in my checking. So I think I have assigned everything a job for October, and I'm just going to up this to 277. That should bring this to, it's doing that glitch. Well, for the heck of it, just to make this a zero-based budget, we'll increase this to 278, and that should be good. There we go. Like I said, Monarch is kind of glitchy sometimes, so it shows 277 here, but when you open the drop down, it's 278. It's fine because I know what the amount is. And that makes this a zero-based budget for September. Lastly, we're going to take a look at my cash flow. So we're going to go to this tab, and this is the standard way that I look at it, which is the bar chart. It defaults to the category view, but I don't really care for that. I like to stick with the group because I do have my custom groups of needs, wants, and wealth. So I am going to keep it as is, and then I'll show you all the new chart that they launched. If you go up here to July, you'll see that over 90% of my income went towards needs. So I was on a very restrictive budget for July and August because I just moved. And then if we look at September, you'll see that my wants and wealth went up to about 30% combined, and just under 70% of my income went to needs. So it balances out a little bit more this time around, and it's closer to my Google Sheets budget. If I hover over September, or if you just look down here, you'll see that my savings rate was 23%. So I am pretty satisfied. And I'm also going to switch to the Sankey diagram, which I'm not a fan of, but it could definitely be helpful to some of you who need to see your money like this. As with the bar chart view here, you can change it to a category, a group, so you just see like needs, wants, wealth, and savings, or you can have both, which, just a warning, it's going to look really crazy, but once again, this might be beneficial to someone. I just prefer to stick to the standard view of the bar chart, so feel free to do whatever is best for you. I almost forgot to go over my goals. So my moving fund is at $1,004. My emergency fund is at $983. As I mentioned before, I withdrew a little bit to pay down a debt and save some interest. So next month, I'm just going to pay a little bit to bring that up to $1,000 again. Sinking funds is on hold. My Acorns account will slowly get back up to $100, but for now, I'm just depositing $5 a month, and that's enough for me. And then for retirement, I have not set a goal, but I do just like to see the current amount that I have here in my 401k, which is $621. That is it for today's budget review. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this was really helpful. If you want to try out Monarch Money for yourself for free for 30 days, be sure to use the link in my description below. And also, don't forget to give a like and subscribe and comment whatever you want to see more of. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Much love.